Welcome, everyone. My name's Gus Denhard. I'm the Executive Director of Early Music Seattle. Early Music Seattle will be 50 years old next year. We're a concert presenter in Seattle, Washington, and formerly focused on medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque European music. But now we strive to tell a bigger story of the musical traditions that we all share and the history and personal stories that illustrate those connections. Many Messiahs is a project that begins to tell that bigger story. I love this work. I love the way the artists are working as they distill Handel's Messiah down to the basic elements and truths, and then restate them in their own words and music from their perspectives. This is how art is supposed to work, and it's what is most needed as we seek our shared humanity. Early Music Seattle is proud to support Many Messiahs, both on its artistic merits and because of the rigorous and authentic process the artists are using as they create. And if you like what you're hearing today and want to help us carry this vision further, you can make a donation at earlymusicseattle.org. Actually, whatever is in the chat is good for that. Donations received will be divided between Many Messiahs and Early Music Seattle. And now let me turn you over to our host today, Jordana Elizabeth. Jordana's writing, lectures, and commentary have been featured in Hearst magazines, on BBC Two, Reels Channel, CBC Syndicated Radio, WYPR, Harvard University, the Pratt Institute, Maryland Institute of College and College of Art, and Baltimore Book Festival, among many others. She's been a regular entertainment journalist for New York Amsterdam News since 2013 and is a founder of the literary organization Public Private. And her new book, She Raised Her Voice, 50 Black Women Who Sing Their Way in Music History, is due to come out this December. So, Jordana, please take the wheel.
Thank you, Gus. Thank you for the intro. I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy to be here. I want to, before we start, give a great intro and thank you to Aaron Grad, the artistic director of Many Messiahs, and move over to really quickly thanking Early Music Seattle and iNDIEFLIX and everybody that has been supportive. But Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about your project with all this collective of community of artists who have come together and supported each other in this amazing effort.
Thank you, Jordana. I'll give a very brief overview now, and we'll have a lot to talk about along the way. Many Messiahs is a reframing of Handel's Messiah, a collective work of recomposition by this amazing group of artists that you'll get to meet. We are pulling material out of the original Messiah, music that is full of joy and energy and activism, as you'll hear us talk about. And we are translating that into a modern idiom, new songs, the music of today by artists of today who write in styles that people really want to listen to. And we're putting it all together into a new orchestral program called Many Messiahs. It will be coming about 2 years from now to a concert hall near you. Our core ensemble you'll meet today, along with chorus and orchestra, playing this glorious holiday program. So that's the journey that Many Messiahs is on. And when you come back to me, I'll tell you about the mini documentary that we've made and the chapter we're on right now. But for now, I'll just say that much and let you get to meet everyone else.
Yeah, let's get started and do some introductions. We have, again, the Many Messiahs Collective, Tayena Asili, Darian Deshawn, Michiko Egger, Stephanie Ann Johnson, Ryan Singh, Rob Jost, and we also have the director and producer of Envisioning Many Messiahs, the founder of iNDIEFLIX, the awesome Sheila Andreen. So why don't we check out the trailer and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
That preach the gospel of peace. get people with something that they know, something that they're already connected to, and then sort of subversively start pushing forward a more just and liberatory message.
When shall the eyes of the blind be open?
So if there's a way for us to be able to get older people in the space with younger people and get them both excited about the same type of music, then I feel like we're doing the work that we're supposed to be doing.
Amazing. I would love to start with Sheila and hear about your journey and how you came to this project and how you put together this amazing mini documentary envisioning many messiahs.
Well, thank you, Jordana. It's Aaron who has been the driving force for this, and I just happened to get swept up in it. And we actually met. Shall I tell the story really quick, Aaron? So there's an app, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Nextdoor, and you can like see garage sales or sell something or find a kid to mow your lawn or look for a place to rent or that kind of thing. And my mom saw a post by Aaron's wife just looking for a little office space. And I was thinking, well, maybe I'll share a little office space and rent a little space out. So I responded. And when I learned what Aaron was doing, I was just like, it became so much more than office space. And suddenly it was like, I was able to put the power of the iNDIEFLIX Foundation behind the project. And we're able to help like provide support to make the mini documentary and to get it edited and get it up and put it up on iNDIEFLIX and use it to really help have a more global reach to get more people involved. And it's, it's a marathon. It's not just a quick sprint. This is something that has become really important to me, things I didn't even think about. And because I happen to be making a documentary right now about racism and its effects on our mental health, it just sort of slotted in so beautifully into my life. So I'm such a fan of the artists, their stories, the music, the impact that it's having now, but also the impact years to come. So it's pretty awesome. And Aaron, you've made it effortless to work with you. You're so fun to work with. So thank you.
I can attest.
And thank you, Early Music.
I can attest that Aaron is great to work with, and this has all been really exciting. So why don't we start talking about the beginning of our journeys? And Sunny, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to the project and your contributions?
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, I think I, like many others, got an email from Aaron Grad, kind of laying out this vision. And I'm a trumpet player and songwriter and singer, and really haven't played much classical music since I was like 18 years old, and that was a very long time ago. So I was kind of taken by the idea. I honestly didn't know that much about Handel's Messiah. I've heard it before, probably 20 years ago, and hasn't really been on my radar. But a lot of my artistic practice is very much rooted in our sort of struggles for social justice and liberation, as well as directly informed by Sikh spirituality and musical forms. And I think that was something that Aaron was gravitated towards. And so that's a lens that I'm bringing in to the compositions that I'm sort of co-writing with Aaron. I'm bringing in some Sikh scriptures into it, sort of in conversation with the themes in Messiah. So that's been really, really fun to explore. And to be a part of sort of a collective writing process is really, really cool as well. And to play on everyone else's really beautiful, beautiful tracks.
Thank you. Just a note, if you have any questions for the panelists, please feel free to share it in the chat and ask whatever your heart desires. Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with Mini Messiahs and how you came about?
Well, Aaron, I don't know how far back in history you want me to go, but Aaron and I have known each other musically and as friends since 1999, I believe. We've worked together in many, many different settings, from more classical to, out and out crazy free improvisation with, rock instruments. And we just have such a history together. When he called me to function in this project, mostly as a bass player, I was very excited. Um, you know, my personal background: my mom was raised Jewish in Queens, and my dad was raised Mennonite out in California. Two very different traditions, and so this piece really speaks to me, with that idea of just many messiahs, many things coming together. Those two branches of my family never really got along except through me, and so this is a beautiful work. I've loved meeting everybody and all of the compositions that have been done. This particular event at Jalopy was a lot of fun. My role was as musical director, basically mostly as the person to kind of schedule things to try and make sure we got all of the songs done in the short amount of time that we had, and that was the kind of first bridge between the virtual world of this, where we were all working online together, and a first real coming together of everybody with compositions, and of course Aaron was zooming in with us then. So I can't wait to see where this all goes from here.
Amazing. So the rest of the evening, we will be sharing clips of performances of the other artists in the collective. Really quickly, if anybody wants to take this, maybe this would be a good one for you, Aaron. If the project tours, what will the role of local musicians be?
Yeah, excellent. Thanks. And hi, David Brewster. It's good to see your name. So the idea is that the Many Messiahs company will be a touring ensemble, and they will be like the soloists that you're used to seeing up front in any Messiah production. So our singers and band will be on the road, and they will collaborate with local orchestras and choirs in every city we visit. And there's also a much bigger component of this project that's about building community connections and meeting people where they're at. So when you say local musicians, I take that to mean more than just the paid orchestra and pro or amateur chorus, but I'm thinking about, we're going to be having workshops out in communities and churches and community spaces, and teaching people to sing along and trying to bring audiences in that are not traditionally very welcome in the concert hall, for better, not that that's intentional, but that's how it's showing up. So when I think about the local musicians, I'm really excited about, school kids and churches from different backgrounds and different affinity groups that are going to show up and stand up and sing along and rock out and all lend their voices, because that's really what Many Messiahs is about, all of us doing it together.
Amazing. So I know that Michi has to head out in a few minutes, but I would love for everybody to experience a clip of their performance, Our Zion, with the collective, and let's check it out.
Justice. That's all we ask. Justice. May it last.
Why must we die? When shall the eyes of the blind be opened? How many lies must be told until the truth is spoken? What about Zion?
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Michiko, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you created that beautiful music.
It's so funny. I feel like that song came together very quickly after Aaron and I had our first call. I think, and Aaron, you can chime in on this too. I think the first prompt that you sent me was the line, "Then shall the eyes of the blind be open," and it was very exciting because like the first call we had, everything he had told me about the project was awesome, and I was like, I need to go like start writing the song. I think I wrote the first draft of it like maybe the first day, like right after that call. And it came together really organically and really quickly. And yeah, and then he built all these beautiful orchestrations around it. Like those string parts are gorgeous.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about how inspiration strikes you. Was it just a feeling? The words came and it was kind of
I think that original line from like the original piece kind of struck me as like with everything else going on in the world, like why are so many people having to die and get hurt and so much like violence in the world? It's like, why does all of that have to happen in order for someone to try to make a change? And that's kind of, I guess, where my head was at when I started writing it.
amazing. Thank you so much.
I'd love to
Yeah.
say some nice things about Michi's songwriting process. It was such a joy to write that song together, and
We had so much fun.
it was so work. And my role in all of this is I kind of feel like I'm the Handel representative in these collaborations. So just trying to find the source material and weave those themes in. And the brilliant thing that Michi did right away is she took this line that it feels like an answer. Then shall the eyes of the blind be open. But she flipped it into a question. When shall the eyes of the blind be open? And came with a follow-up line of how many lies must be told until the truth is spoken. And it became this set of questions. I'm Jewish by background. It made me think about the 4 questions at the Passover Seder. There's this innocence, always recited by the youngest at the table, and Michi is the youngest at our table. And it just had this sense of such wonder and vulnerability. And so this became a series of questions. And then we came to this image of Zion, which shows up all over Messiah. And that became the stand-in for the promised land. The promised land that we're all still trying to build here, and this place where there is justice and peace. And so, Zion, not in the sense of not Israel, but Zion as the city on the hill we aspire to. As we kind of finished writing the whole song, it all came back around, and we ended up plugging the Messiah quote back in verbatim at the very end. And it's really cool to hear Michi sing really beautifully, sing a verbatim line right out of Handel's Messiah. It shows how malleable that material is. So that was a really fun process to get to the meaning and the heart of the song. And I feel like it really poses the question of many messiahs and frames it so beautifully.
Fascinating, which is a big part of why I'm a part of this project, because it's just genuinely fascinating and well done and super amazing. I would love to move on to a clip of Aaron Grad speaking about Darian, the beginnings of the dynamic duo of Many Messiahs. And I'd love to hear more and check that out.
Darian Deshawn is a hip hop artist, a poet, playwright, beatboxer. He brings so much to this project. He wrote a poem that feels like our mission statement in many ways, The Calling. The music that plays under his poem is played here by strings. It originally comes from a choral number in Messiah, where the voices sing, "Since by man came death." And that is the backdrop to this entire project. The violence, the death that we have witnessed and suffered through, that inspires us to try to make the world a better place.
Lady Justice, Lady Liberty, deliver us to victory. May we slay the iniquity
May we slay the iniquity.
May our cause be just in your eyes.
May our cause be just in your eyes.
Hear our cries.
Hear our cries.
Justice.
Justice.
That's all we ask.
That's all we ask.
Justice.
Justice.
May it last.
May it last.
Wow, that was really cool. So, Darian, why don't you tell us a little bit about your contribution and your awesome music?
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think, just like everybody else, Aaron reached out to me, emails like, hey, I'm interested in doing something. I was one of the first with Handel's Messiah. I had already did something with an amazing quartet called Public Quartet, Grammy nominated, where we had did kind of a hip hop remix of Ligeti's Metamorphosis Nocturne. So I had some background in being able to take classic and combining it with hip hop, which is my, that's my forte. And so when Aaron reached out to me about this, I was super excited about tackling Handel's Messiah. And I am in a really interesting position where, for me, this project is two-pronged, where I've been fortunate enough to, I'm also working with an organization called the Inheritance Project, who is working with two communities in New York, Lab Shul, which is a Jewish organization, and St. James Presbyterian Church. And I presented this to the Inheritance Project. I've done some work with them. They do a lot of interfaith work and creating interfaith events, and taking sacred text and kind of giving it a modern twist or edge. And so I mentioned this project, and Aaron and I spoke with them. And so they're giving me an opportunity to kind of workshop a whole kind of hip hop remix of Handel's Messiah. So I'm actually deep in Messiah right now, doing a kind of whole thing with Public Quartet and two other MCs that we'll be doing on December 18th. And so I'm excited about kind of seeing how some of the work that I'm doing with Inheritance, how some of that will kind of cross over with the Mini Messiahs cohort and community of this group. So that's kind of my whole thing on this. And it's just been such a great challenge in terms of tackling all this work. And that particular piece was again, me just kind of listening to the music. I'm always drawn to, because I think cinematically. So it was about me listening to a part of the music that really spoke to me, and then from there kind of creating the lyrics.
Amazing. Aaron, do you have any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I gotta give some love to Darian, who's been in this with me the longest. You were the first of this team, and the project has morphed a lot. It was not many Messiahs at the beginning. It started, it was a month after George Floyd's murder. I had a sleepless night of just wanting to do better, wanting to do something, and had this vision of martyrdom, of people whose voices are not welcomed and who are killed for it. And it just brought me to the original martyr of so many of our stories and myths, Jesus, and thinking about Messiah as a very modern tale of, what happens when someone dares speak truth to power, and someone who doesn't look the way that they're supposed to look to be welcomed and accepted and validated and all of that stuff. It just felt so true and real and present. And so, and I had this idea that hip hop would be the vehicle to rework this material into an idiom that makes sense today and that speaks to it. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I just had this vision. We're saying goodbye to Michi, by the way. I'm going to say thank you to Michi for popping in. She is between a matinee and an evening show of Hadestown. She's playing in the touring company. So it's a 3-gig day. Thank you, Michi. Really glad you could make it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I wish I could stay longer.
Great work, Michi.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
So in terms of the process with Darian, we spent months just talking, trying to figure out what we were doing, how we would relate, and what our roles would be. It was hard. I had a lot of learning to do about my role, how to be an ally, how to show up in this project as a white man, and to be in service and of service, and when to get out of the way, and to trust these amazing musicians. And so a lot of the really great work that has happened as it became Many Messiahs, I owe so much to Darian for being real with me. And we had just, before a note of music was written, just to figure out what we were trying to do and how to do it. And so, we've really been in this a long way. And Darian is going to have sort of a special role in the eventual orchestral show. He's sort of the MC of the whole production, and his hip hop, which you didn't get to hear in this early phase of Many Messiahs. He's going to have his own songs and be, bringing the audience along and the public face in a lot of ways. So I'm really excited to let you all see more Darian. You'll hear a clip later too. His beatboxing is insane, a whole other skill set that we were really glad to be able to incorporate. So anyway, Darian, just
it's proficient. The beatboxing is proficient. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah, so that our dyad was the heart of this, and Many Messiahs happened when we kind of hit an impasse, that we, in certain ways, we got stuck because I had a vision and Darian had a vision, and they weren't identical, and we both are strong-minded, strong-willed, powerful artists, and it almost died. The whole thing just almost ended, and the inspiration was I needed to get out of his way, and I wanted to hear from a lot of people, a lot of brilliant, powerful, strong-minded, strong-willed artists, and that's where this thing could really get huge, is to make space for a lot of power. And so that was the entry point, maybe a little over a year ago, where our initial thought turned into Many Messiahs, and we've been off to the races since then.
Yeah, and it's been, how great to have had that kind of intense conversation and to end up where we are now, which is about building community and getting people excited about a piece of art that allows for many, many voices, not just Aaron's and not just mine's, right? But a lot of amazing artists. And I also just want to touch on too, I think initially it was always too about thinking about Jesus as the revolutionary and the activist, and really kind of coming at it with a very secular approach. And so I've also just been thinking about, the essence of what a movement is, right? A political movement can't be killed, right? The resurrection, how movements are reborn, from the abolitionist movement to the civil rights movement to the Black Lives Matter movement. If we're following that trail, then I feel like we're totally in the spirit of what it means to find kind of the Messiah within all of us. So
Great, yes, very insightful. And Berner says, Darian's poem reminds me of Jesus' cry from the cross. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Sorry, it's in a different language. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Thank you for that comment, Anne. And yes, if you have any questions or any thoughts or comments, please feel free to add them to the chat and I will read them out. I'm so excited to move forward and introduce Tiana Asili's piece, How Beautiful Are the Feet of Them. What an amazing, strong voice. Taina, I would love to hear about your inspiration and how you came to make this incredible piece.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jordana. Inspiration. Well, like everyone else has said, I received an email from Aaron and immediately got excited about the possibility of this opportunity to collaborate. Though it took some time to kind of really understand, the project and how we wanted to move with it and where it was going to go. And it came right off of the heels of attending a concert that my sister, who's also a singer, she's an incredible jazz singer, Yana Del Valle. She had done a Nina Simone collaboration with the Binghamton Philharmonic Orchestra here in upstate New York. And I loved seeing like my people, our people, in a room with folks who would normally go to the Binghamton Philharmonic performance and see how that environment transformed. People jumping up and getting super excited and whistling and screaming and just being all of our full selves in that space. And it was super exciting. So when I had that conversation with Aaron, I started to get really excited about what this could bring, this collaboration. In terms of the song, how beautiful are the feet of them, thinking about the body felt really important to me. I love the work of Sonia Renee Taylor, The Body is Not an Apology, and thinking about the ways that racism, white supremacy impacts our bodies, injustice impacts our bodies, how bodies are in a hierarchy. And so it was interesting to me to think about writing a piece that speaks to different aspects of the body. So I go into the feet and I talk about the hands and the voice and the breath. And so it was a powerful exploration and collaboration, of course, with Aaron and bringing in Handel's voice to the song.
Yeah, Aaron, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll now love for Taina. Wow, it was such a joy to find you, and I didn't realize until after the fact that I had seen you when I was with my wife at the Women's March in 2017, and so just to come to find each other again and to be able to collaborate has been such a joy. And this song, I mean, you delivered a song that a fully formed. It was all there. And the embodiment, the physicality of it, I think it showed me, I didn't know how all these transformations would happen. I just believed that, I believe in all of these artists and that they would find what mattered in the material and make it something more and something true and something impactful. And so I love the original aria. I love how beautiful are the feet of them from Handel's Messiah. And everything that I love about it is in Taina's song, and then a whole lot more. And that's what makes me so happy, that it has, it's so true to the spirit, and her voice is so true to the art form. It's the power and the clarity of it. Such great singing. And so all of that was there. And all I did for this song was really arrange it and orchestrate it, which was so much fun because it gave me so much to work with, and to find these little, to kind of play off her lyrics. So, How Powerful Are the Voices gave me a chance to go big and bring in beautiful harmonies. Stephanie singing harmony on this session, it was incredible. And Michi was in there too, to hear their three voices. This is also a chance for me to give some love to the band. Holy smokes, I hope you can appreciate. This was the first song that they recorded that day. And this is the first time this group has played together. And that is a complicated, virtuosic, ornate song. It really should have had congas in it, and for budget and space and COVID protocols and everything else, we didn't end up bringing in a guest percussionist. I should say we do have a drummer in this project, the great Mark McLean, and he just wasn't able to be part of the session. And so we kind of built a different lineup around a drumless ensemble. But anyway, the musicality, every single one of them chugging away, and I think you could see it in that clip. I mean, Rob on bass, my longest, dearest musical friend, who can straddle these worlds. We don't get to have Curtis Stewart here with us today. He was the first violinist. That was the public quartet, 3 out of the 4 members of the public quartet at our session. They know how to get from one style to another like nobody's business. Michi playing guitar, what a beast of a guitarist, and that part is so hard. I'm a guitarist and I wrote the part and it's really hard. I would not have wanted to be the one to play it. Sonny killing that trumpet part, and like that first note is very, very high and not the easiest place to start the phrase, and he just nailed it. And so I think there's a showcase in this song that makes me really excited, not just for the words and the thoughts, but just the intense musical power that Thaina channeled and that everyone stepped into. It's really thrilling to get to put those dots on a page. And then I wasn't at the session in New York. I was sitting on the other side of a Zoom screen and listening to them pull it out of nowhere, on the first take. It was crazy.
Just a little more backstory too, because remember, we only had X amount of time in that space, like I think maybe like 4 hours to nail all three of those numbers. So I remember it was a miracle in and of itself, and to have gotten what we got. So hats off to everybody for doing their homework, and yeah, it was a really, really, really special day. So that's all I'll say.
And to do that in the midst of a pandemic, right? We're dealing with testing, we're dealing with masks. That was my first time being in a space indoors with a group of musicians, and there were so many different, aspects to this, and the magic and the miracle that made this possible. And I'm indebted to everyone for bringing their full selves to make it possible.
This is a good, I want to put a plug in. The reason Curtis couldn't join us today is that the Public Quartet is on a plane because they're playing tomorrow at Town Hall in Seattle. And so if any of you Seattle folks, you've probably seen, Town Hall's emails about their program. It's an amazing program, and they have a reimagining of Dvorak's American Quartet, which is all about, source material from spirituals, and they're doing the work. That's the thing. Everyone in this group, these are musicians who are doing the work, who are making the world a better place, and just all we had to do is get in a room together, and it's magic. So anyway, if you're in Seattle, check it out tomorrow night, Town Hall. And Curtis Stewart was also just nominated for a Grammy for a solo album of his. In the context of that session, the Brooklyn session that we filmed, I was very grateful that Rob took on the big job of music director, traffic cop for a whole lot of moving parts. As we transition into the next phase of this project, where we will eventually have an orchestra and a chorus on stage, I'm really proud to say that Curtis has agreed to be our music director in that context. And so it's very old fashioned. It's exactly how it would have happened in Handel's day. Someone sets, first violin is the leader. And so Curtis is going to be leading from the violin, bringing his incredible chops. Look for him in the background of all these clips playing first violin. Such an asset, a talent, and an old friend of Darian's that Darian brought in. So another reason I'm very grateful. And the team is just coming together on all cylinders.
Congratulations to Curtis. That is very exciting. And yes, please check out his event tomorrow. I definitely want to circle around to everyone and talk more about social justice and what's going on in the world, but I would love for us to view one more clip of Stephanie Ann Johnson's I Know.
8 billion little lights shining at once. 8 billion little lights shining at once.
Love that. Stephanie, why don't you come on and tell us about you joining the collective and your experience?
Okay. Well, as was said earlier, I got an email. I got an email. And, you know, I'm a musician. I've been a musician who is a working musician for the past, what, 10, 15 years, something like this. And so it happens often for people to say, you know, do you want to collaborate? Do you want to make it this? Do you want to make it that? But hearing from Aaron, I mean, like, this is, to me, this was a really, really interesting project because I was raised kind of in a classical music type of a place. I studied classical voice for a number of years, but I found a more lucrative home in more modern instruments and more modern expression. So finding a hybrid of the two, where I can feel at home in a concert hall, but I can also bring a groove and bring a party atmosphere to a concert hall. We're expected to sit quietly during so much classical music. So the idea of making this like kind of infectious party that starts on stage and kind of bleeds into the audience, I love that idea. This particular piece was based on, I know that my Redeemer liveth. And for me as a spiritual person, I know that my Redeemer liveth because I can look out and see the divine in your eyes each and every time I look up at another human. So how do I make that feeling musical? How do I talk about all of our collective light? You know, it also came to this idea that what if, you know, instead of a capitalist society, we just got to do those things that we were called to do? What if all the singers just got to sing, you know, and all of the people that wanted to feed communities, what if they just got to feed people? What if we all just got to take care of each other in all the ways that we do? So it's kind of interesting and very fun for me to lock all those ideas up in a piece where the string instruments can play and the beatboxing can play and the vocalists can play, and everyone can play and find a little harmony together.
Jordan is muted. I'm going to jump in now because I want to now share my love. Stephanie, it is well, it's been such a thrill to work with you too. And as the Washington State crew here, we have, you know, that connection. Stephanie's just down the road from me in Tacoma. I'm in Seattle. So I was totally struck by Stephanie's voice from the first time I heard it. And I mean, that's obvious. It's self-evident. The voice, actually, Stephanie was a finalist on The Voice, that TV show. So, you know, the voice is obviously there, but there's so much depth and heart. And our process of getting to this song was really meaningful and really changed me and helped me grow. And one of the things that I loved and appreciated is that before we could write a note, Stephanie and I had a big conversation, and they said to me, really, what are you trying to do here? And it turned into, you know, maybe an hour-long brainstorming session that ended up with us drafting a statement of intentions that's still out there as one of our public statements. And it was about, and really cataloging it and getting clear about, you know, an intention to share the truth, an intention to activate people in the movement, an intention to partner with and elevate voices that have not been elevated in the concert hall. And just that before we could make music, we had to be clear on how what we were trying to do and how we would do it together. And that's what I mean, just the intentionality of everyone on this team and the work that they're already doing. And so once we got through that, and then it was time to make some tunes, it was a really fun process because, you know, I have to admit something about this piece. I'm squeamish about spirituality. I'm trying to find it in myself. I think I might believe in something, but I don't know exactly what it is. I believe in people. I believe in connection. I believe there's something bigger, but I don't know what it is. And so to be writing this whole piece and co-writing, you know, stuff that has to do with with God and people's different conceptions of it. You know, whether I'm working with Stephanie or working with Sunny, who's bringing in Punjabi texts from the Sikh tradition. I mean, it's on my edge to be trying to figure out how I relate to all this. Stephanie came back with the first draft of this song, and the feel was exactly there. It was, the groove was there. It was all there. But they used the original line, "I know that my Redeemer liveth." And I felt uncomfortable and sort of thought, well, I don't know that my Redeemer liveth. Do I? And so what we had to do was find what's the essence of it, the heart of it that can speak their truth, but in a way where I can hear it and everyone else can hear it, and that no one would come away from that concert feeling like, oh, well, they're not talking to me, they're talking to someone else. And so my own squeamishness was actually a really good guide and a compass. And it was so magical when "I know that my Redeemer liveth" became "I know." And it's this testament of faith and belief. And I don't, you know, we're still figuring out how the whole concert is going to work, but I am clear that "I know" is somewhere near the very, very end. It might be right before, I think we have to end with the hallelujah, but this might be right before the hallelujah, because it feels like a summation in a lot of ways. It feels like an affirmation of coming together and this vision of 8 billion little lights shining at once. I mean, that's all of us in it together. And so that process, and once we got to that, the song finished itself in about an hour. I mean, it's actually a very simple song. It's not fussy, it's not ornate. It's just get that groove going and let it happen, which I really appreciate about Stephanie's songwriting, because I can sometimes get a little fussy. And so we're a really good team. And I really love this song, and I love how it came out. I love that we convinced Darian to beatbox on it, all of that. Yeah, that was a really cool journey. Something too that it didn't make it into the final cut of the mini doc, but I think the source material is really fascinating. I don't know if people all know this, but "I know that my Redeemer liveth" comes from the story of Job. And I think that's a story that people can relate to. You know, everything is taken away, a man who suffers every indignity, every loss, every pain. And at the end of that, he says, "I know that my Redeemer liveth." And so I bring that back up because, you know, this whole piece is, we're making this music because of the hurt of state violence and systemic racism and all the pain that I've been awakened to more recently, and that, you know, these artists of color have lived with their lives. And so I just don't want to forget that even this most joyful piece, I know, is coming out of a Job-like ordeal. It was just, every part of that was beautiful to be involved in, and a real honor. So thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. We have a few minutes left, and I would love to kind of get everyone's thoughts on social justice and, you know, how they would like to see their contributions help the project move forward, and what they're doing in the world and excited about. And I'd love to start with Sunny.
Yeah, I mean, this project, I gravitated towards it because social and racial justice are sort of baked in from the outset, and so it feels like a really important space for my voice to be, because that's the space that I live in. Aside from being a musician, I'm a longtime organizer, activist, and educator. I do a lot of popular education, training, facilitation around anti-racism, anti-oppression, and have been involved in social movements since I was a teenager. So it's really exciting to think about how to disrupt the classical music space and the orchestra hall space with that lens, and that's what brings me here, and it's all the more powerful and effective when the art itself is so beautiful, as I think we're seeing is the case so far, which is just super exciting. I think social justice-y or political music can come across as a little bit contrived when the art in and of itself doesn't have that feeling in it, if you know what I mean, right? Like I do want to hit people over the head, but I want to do it in a way that is beautiful, and they feel it from here before they're even listening to the words that we're saying. And in my case, most of them are not going to understand the words that I'm singing. So I hope that they feel it and then dig a little bit deeper and be moved by it. Ultimately, I hope this is a call to action.
Amazing. I would love to hear from Sheila, Darian, Taina, and Rob, and then we will wrap up this amazing conversation.
Well, I'm not a musician and I've learned so much. I honestly, when we all got together in Brooklyn and all the artists came together, never having played in person together, just watching them and the talent, and then Aaron on Zoom, being able to hear the tiniest little things. I was just in awe of the day and how much we did, as Darian mentioned, that how much we fit into a very short period of time. You know, I have 6 kids, and when they at various times have discovered classical music and had this kind of like real meaningful connection, it's like a gift that can never be taken away from them. And I just wish that for all children, all students, all people. And I'm naive and I'm ignorant in so many ways, but I felt like there's been this kind of like growing gap of young people to classical music. Now I could be completely wrong, but I love the idea of bringing it and getting it into schools, getting it into symphony halls, opening it up and having the music reflect diversity, social justice, equality, and have that be like the soundtrack underneath our lives. So I'm really excited to see where we are in 2, 3, and 5 years. Should I hand it over?
I'll jump in real quick just to kind of piggyback a little bit on all of that, and also what Sunny was saying. We've been very, very fortunate to have been in this kind of cohort and this collective, but I do feel like there is going to be a point when we are going to be kind of facing the classic community, and I think there is going to be some people are not going to be into it. And I think we have to brace ourselves for when you're trying to do something that's quote unquote radical, that there is going to be some folks that are not going to necessarily be down with what we're attempting to do. And the other thing I'll say too is that I think that it's imperative that that the piece be surrounded by some degree of call to action. I know with this piece that I'm going to be doing in December, I think the beauty of what artists do is we're able to get people pumped and motivated. We're able to boost group morale. We're able to help shape public opinion. But we have to be aligned and in conjunction with the folks that are really doing the groundwork. So I think it's imperative that at the end of whatever we do, that there are organizations that we can kind of guide people to go and check out, and to really make sure that people are staying involved, because that's what, if we don't do that, then we're not really doing the work. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. And also too, I'm just going to put in the chat this thing, the workshop that I'm doing in December, if anybody's in New York. But thank you so much for all of this. This has been wonderful on my end.
Thank you, Taina.
Yeah, just again, piggybacking off of what everyone else said, for me, a lot of my work, again, my music has been focused on social justice themes. I'm currently working on a blend of music video documentaries on abolition, climate justice, and economic democracy as a part of another residency that I'm doing. And that's sort of been, my music has generally been what I like to call the rhythm of rebellion, very dancey, again, bringing these heavy themes like Sunny was speaking about, but doing so in a way that allows us to also in that process reclaim our joy, reclaim our power, reclaim our spirit. And for me, even just listening today at the clips, I'm touched in such a different way with this musical collaboration, bringing in that classical element. I feel it, I really feel it, vibrationally feel it, and it shifts something in me. And so my intention and my hope is that we are able to offer that again as a call to action, but touching, for me, the power of music, the power of art is to be able to connect with people emotionally and perhaps spiritually. So, for me, this is another opportunity, another tool to be able to connect on a different level, emotionally, spiritually, to move us into that action to make change. So that's my hope, my prayer.
Amazing. Yeah. Pam had a technical question. She wanted to know if we'll be able to share the link to this discussion with others. It is being recorded, so it should be able to be shareable. And Aaron has put in a link to the entire documentary where you can see it on iNDIEFLIX, which is exciting. And Pam also said that this is so exciting and inspiring. So I'm very happy that people are feeling touched and moved by everything that is going on. So let's wrap it up with Rob and Aaron. And Stephanie, if you have any thoughts, that would be amazing too. And we will close things out.
Aaron, you want me to go first? Yeah, I had an interesting thought. As Darian was speaking, talking about kind of the process of bringing something, into the mainstream. I thought about Sesame Street. I'm very fortunate to play bass for Sesame Street. We record the new music for the show every Monday. I have my charts for tomorrow printed up here. And Sesame Street started out as an idea that you could take the commercial, like Joan Gans Cooney, who began it. She saw her kid watching commercials, just regular TV commercials, and she's like, well, why can't there be a commercial for the number 2 or the letter G that can be on TV, and then underserved communities can have more education, and that was her idea, to just take something and turn it on its head as a form of activism. And this idea of taking Messiah, it feels like a similar idea of genius that could really just bring so much to communities. Anyway, I see we only have 3 minutes left, so I'll stop it there. But that was just a thought I had.
I'll let Stephanie jump in first if there's anything you want to say.
I enjoyed myself. I've had a good time so far doing this music with this group of people, and I'm curious to see where we are able to go with our collective force. There's something wonderful about a unison when you can have more than one voice, quote unquote voice, singing together, saying a similar thing. So I'm very honored to be in this group, and I'm curious to see where it is that we all end up. Yeah, I want to do it again.
Great.
Sign me up. Me too.
Something that there's so much to this project, and I feel like I'm so deep in it, I'm not sure it always even exactly comes across. So I kind of want to just re-anchor for everyone where we're at, because it's not necessarily clear. We are at the very beginning, and maybe not even quite there. I mean, this is a long project. What you are seeing, the video clips you saw, these are these demos that we recorded with our small ensemble, really for the purposes of trying to get the idea out there, show the talent, and show the songwriting that's happening. But where we want to be are concert halls of the world. And the first step is, our group touring, playing with major orchestras and bringing it to those halls. But then the next step after that is publishing the sheet music. And I'm really excited for the day when, whatever high school orchestra, community theater group, or, kids, like, that there's going to be someone out there singing Diana's song and spitting Darian's verses, and that it's going to be a show that can live on and people can own it for themselves. And so we are on a very long road to bring the ideas and the music to the concert hall and to the world. I want to also add that Many Messiahs is the first of what the goal is for this to be a template, to keep bringing music to the concert hall that uses the best of that space, the sound, the glorious instruments, the voices, but made in partnership with BIPOC artists and dealing with stuff that needs to be dealt with. And so this This piece is our calling card, but we have others already formulating behind it. We have a climate change piece, an idea. I've been really struck by there's so much great music about mothers in the classical repertoire, about, you know, the Virgin Mary and other mothers. And so the idea of honoring our Mother Earth by starting to pick apart some of the great classical repertoire about mothers. So that's coming down the road. There's a lot that we're going to try to do with this. It's overwhelming. It's terrifying. And it's so invigorating and exciting. And so I just wanted to kind of share all of the context of that what we're trying to do here. I also have to say that, you know, we've just been going and not necessarily even stopping to breathe or pause or know what we're doing, but we would not have gotten here without so much help. So I have to say thank you to Early Music Seattle. You have showed up, not just, you know, the organization, the board, but also the audience. I know you're out there showing up for this piece. It's really made a difference. And thank you to iNDIEFLIX and Sheila, who has done so much for this project. You all do not even understand the amount of resource, the money, the time, the mentorship, the positive encouragement to just get out there with an idea and keep it going. We would not have gotten this far without these two institutional partners. And so that's where we're at. At the beginning, Gus said, you know, this event is free and Early Music Seattle is asking for donations, and that those donations will be split between Early Music Seattle and Many Messiahs. And I guess I just want to make sure you know, for one thing, that will go directly into the pockets of these artists, because we've got songs to write and they're getting paid to write those songs. And so this is not abstract, and this is not like going down into some nonprofit rabbit hole. Like your donations will pay artists to do the work they need to do. So please just think about that. And then there's also the aspect of, I think audiences don't always appreciate how much power you have. You are the engine of this art form, and you vote with your feet, and you vote with your tickets, and you vote with your dollars. And this was a huge risk for Early Music Seattle to put some real money behind this and institutional support. And this is not what early music organizations usually do. And so if you can give them proof that this was a good bet, that we're barking up the right tree, that this is the kind of work that an early music organization can do that is relevant to the art form and good for the world, your donations will show them and prove that, and give us some room to run, because we've got a long pile of work to write, you know, another hour or so of music and get this up on a concert hall stage in about 2 years. So that's my pitch. I really hope you can give generously. You know, I'm just so grateful for everyone who's gotten us this far, and I am thrilled and excited to see where we go next.
Thank you so much, Aaron. And yes, please donate whatever you can give. It would be so helpful, and it would help this project move forward. I want to thank everybody on the panel and the opportunity to have been able to speak with you all and learn from you all and enjoy your music. And I am so excited to see the growth. So thank you all. Were we going to bring Gus back on? No? Well, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you all panelists for your amazing work. And we are going to end it here. So have a good afternoon and a good evening wherever you are in the world. And it's been such an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jordana.
guys.
You did an
Thank you,
amazing job.
Jordana.
Thank you.
Stand strong, everybody. Stand strong.
Thank you, everyone. Be
Don't
well.
Thank you.
Book it.
Bye.
It's out in December. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.